This is Martin Ose from Cresa, Corporate Real Estate Advisors. This video is part of a series called Cresa Cares, which we've put together with friends of ours from a variety of different industries, including HR, finance, construction, manufacturing, legal, and of course our own expertise, which is project management and corporate real estate. The content in these videos will help your firm survive COVID-19 and ultimately emerge positioned for success. Thank you for joining us on Cresa Cares. Morning, it's Martin Ose. I am with Cresa Ottawa, one of the brokers.
I'm Zach Coakley. I am also one of the brokers with Cresa Ottawa. And Marty and I have been working together for 7 solid years now. It's been great. Great ride.
And now we finally get a chance to talk to each other. So This conversation...
Finally crossing paths.
The subject of this conversation is immediate actions tenants can take during COVID-19. And it's all around relationships with the landlord. So I guess one of the first things we should put out there, I mean, we've talked internally a lot about why this is a good fit for Cresa. And I don't know if you could enunciate that, it would be, I think it's probably worth explaining why we're here speaking today.
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, our entire business is built off of representing the tenants and helping the tenants, kind of standing up for the little guy, if you will. So, I mean, we partner with the tenant community consistently, and obviously we partner with them during the best of times. That's how we've built our business. So, of course, we're going to be here for the tenant community during the worst of times. And so we want to make sure that we're getting that message out there that as the tenant representative shop in town, that we are here to help. We'll do whatever we can. We'll apply whatever sort of knowledge and expertise that we can to each situation. Not look for any sort of financial compensation for our efforts, but just sort of get out there and let the tenant community know that they've got expertise on their side, they've got that expertise in their corner, and we're just a phone call away if they want any sort of help with any sort of these tough conversations.
I'll start off with a question, Zach. There are definitely people out there who feel that the landlord-tenant relationship is very much an adversarial relationship. What are your thoughts on how people should conduct their conversation in terms of tone and so on as they reach out to their landlord?
Well, I mean, we're going through some stressful times. However, these conversations don't necessarily have to be stressful conversations, I don't think. If you're going to be going directly right to your landlord to start one of these discussions, I would say you go in with just a truthful, honest, transparent tone and just talk about the pain points of your business, what sort of stress you might be under, and just open that dialogue. It doesn't have to be a conversation, a malicious conversation or an egregious conversation. We're just talking truths and just seeing how one party can help the other party, because after all, it's a partnership at the end of the day. So there's definitely reason to work together to get through this.
Okay. I mean, I think I agree totally. This is not a time for knock them down, drag them out negotiations. This is, I agree. This is
not the time to announce how much you paid them in rent and how much their mortgage has gone down since they've been in the building or what have you. It's a time to just have an open, honest discussion.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. In terms of I guess, expectations, what we certainly hear a lot on the news and everyone talks about getting rent relief from the landlord. What are your thoughts on that and how to approach it and how to prepare for it if you're a tenant?
Yeah, well, I mean, barring any sort of outcomes that we see trickling down from the latest announcement from Trudeau, I think just at a high level, tenants shouldn't necessarily have the expectation that landlords are just going to be giving them free money and free relief during a time like this. As much as they're likely willing to work with them, there's still a contract in place. The landlord still expects to remain whole at the end of that contract or what have you. So there's definitely got to be what's in it for them at the end of the day, whether it's making that offering up that they gave you to relieve the stress back up over the course of coming months in the term, or adding term to the end of the lease or what have you. There's many ways that any sort of offering can be made up. However, the landlords are going to have that expectation, and therefore the tenants should not be going in with any sort of expectation that they're going to be getting stuff for free.
Any suggestions on people who can advise or prepare the tenant before they get into this conversation? Bit of a set.
Yeah, tenants usually surround themselves with a team of professionals when they're going through their original negotiations. So it would be ideal for them to at least reach out to them, the groups that were involved in the deal, or other professionals that have insight on what's going on, to at least just have that conversation with them, what they may be seeing in the marketplace, and have them work with you to review your lease, what your rights may be in your lease. There could be some hidden gems in there that you can maybe even trade into the landlord and work into those conversations to do a little quick pro quo with the landlords. But I would say, just to start things off, familiarize yourself with what your rights are, call up your advisors, call up your team of professionals, and get that conversation started first. Come up with an overall strategy with that group.
Yeah, I by the way, I totally agree. I think top of that list is actually the broker who was at the table helping you through that negotiation.
Well, 100%. I mean, to try to take some bias out of this, not to be biased with this, I would still agree with you. I mean, they're in and out from the of the entire transaction from start to finish, so they would have complete understanding of what's in the lease, what they've negotiated, what the pain points were for the landlord at the time of negotiation, even, and what the pain points might be for the landlord currently, because they've got a good beat on what's going on in the market and in certain buildings and portfolios and what have you. So they might be the ones with the creative idea that might come out of nowhere that no one thought of. So that would be a good first call for sure.
Well, this is my first plug of the day. So I'm going to say, if you don't know who your broker was, then for sure give us a call. We're very cognizant of what's been going on in the marketplace with different landlords, and we'll help you out to the audience right now.
For sure. I've seen a lot of those. We're getting involved in a lot of these discussions. So even if it's just to have an idea of what's getting offered, whether it's needed or not, we can definitely shed some light on that. So I guess now going back, I mean, this predates my time in real estate. However, about 20 years ago, during the when the .com bubble burst, and Nortel was having some space issues and subletting a bunch of space and trying to fix their footprint, they were starting to run into issues with their landlords, as they were saying, well, you've abandoned your space, so therefore you're forfeiting X, Y, and Z in terms of rights, and X, Y, and Z in terms of obligations to the landlord. Do you suspect now that we're going through a time where everyone's working from home and there's barely anyone sitting in desks or offices now? Do you think that business owners should be concerned about something like that, and landlords enforcing any sort of egregious rights?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, let me say, I think landlords in Ottawa are a decent bunch of people by and large, and nobody is going to do something unfair. I really don't think that's the case. Right. So if a tenant finds themselves offside with an abandonment clause in their lease, I seriously doubt any landlord is going to use that as a club to beat them with in this day and age. However, caution being the better part of valor, it's easy to simply get a waiver written up between parties that states that this is not an example of abandonment, or this is not a case of abandonment, that it's to do with COVID-19 and so on and so forth. And the prudent move would be to execute a waiver or a document between the landlord and the tenant declaring that this is not an event of default as defined in the lease. And if you have any doubts about that, Cresa, we have a waiver we can send you. You just customize it and ask your landlord to put his dog away. I guess the other thing, just to follow on the abandonment question, is it's probably not a bad idea to, if you're working from home, just make sure your landlord knows how to communicate effectively, because you don't want to miss any notices to do with the building. So at the same time as you make sure that abandonment's not happening, you should probably make sure the landlord knows how to get a hold of you if you're doing this at your home office.
For sure. I think open communication is the general theme going on here.
Well, I guess that would be the summary then.
Yeah, I think so. Just keep all lines of communication open. Come up with a fairly concise strategy as to how to approach the conversation with your landlord in a calm, non-malicious way. And just make sure all your bases are covered with regards to your rights and what is existing in your lease that you can maybe use to your advantage to get you through a time like this. Perhaps it's a good time to shed some light on what we're building over at Cresa to help tenants who are going through this or about to.
That's a good point, Zach. We do have a good kit of parts for people who are actually, and everyone is, dealing with COVID-19. So we have some boilerplate documentation to help people with checklists on what to do and needs to be addressed with the landlord and other things. We've got a boilerplate document to be used as a letter to the landlord to open that conversation that really should happen. We've got some rent relief checklists. We've got some documentation describing HR related issues. And I guess lastly, a lot of what can be done is going to be dependent on each of the tenants, each tenant's personal situation or direct situation. So part of this is, if you want us to, we can actually look through your lease, look through your situation, and make a recommendation in terms of how you would proceed with your particular discussion with the landlord. And that's it's not something we're charging for. We're simply doing what we can to help in this time of challenge.
Yeah, sounds very helpful and very, very informative. I'm sure that could be a benefit to a lot of people, Marty. So how would someone go about getting that? How would they get their hands on that and get in touch with us for a conversation or just to see what we're seeing?
Sure, fair enough. Old-fashioned folks my age will want to call. Easy to do. Pick up the phone. The numbers should be posted here, there, and everywhere. So we've got our phone system set up right now. So all you need to do is hit 8 when you hit voicemail, and you will be put directly in touch with one of the advisors. Of course, you can also click. You can hit our web pages or simply drop us an email, and we'll get you the tools you need and certainly get back in touch.
Great. And perhaps for the younger folk, everyone active on LinkedIn and via email.
I don't know what that is. I have no idea. You're going to have to tell them how to deal with that.
Yeah. We're constantly posting little tips and tidbits on LinkedIn as well. So give us a follow for any sort of useful information that you might see on there. And of course, reach out to any one of us via LinkedIn, in-mail, what have you. Email should be posted there too. We're all fairly responsive. And should be able to get back to any inquiries within a short period of time. Well, thanks guys for listening to our little powwow here, our first edition of Cresa Cares. We'll be posting videos like this, not strictly real estate related, but just covering all sorts of bases, what all sorts of different people and industry leaders are seeing out there in unprecedented times like this. So tune in. We'll be posting these types of videos once a week or so. And hope to cover off a lot more information than just real estate. So thanks again for watching, and give us a follow if you haven't already.
Yeah, thank you. We hope this video was helpful. For further information on today's topic, or to see other Cresa Cares content, click the link. To connect with us directly, just email us. And of course, share this with anyone you think would benefit.